From Triveni's groundbreaking fusion of ancient Indian sounds to her powerful reflection of diverse cultures, she's shown us that when worlds collide, beauty is born. Chandrika Tandon, the 70-year-old Grammy-winning artist, joins us to share her remarkable journey. Let's dive into this conversation where we celebrate her and look ahead to the limitless horizons that await. Welcome, Chandrika. It's an honor to have you with us. I'll begin with a multi-million-dollar question on everyone's mind. Now, winning a Grammy for the Triveni must have been a surreal moment. Can you take us back to that exact instant? What were you feeling when they announced your name?
So, in a sense, it was almost like many of our friends and many of my friends were actually nominated before. Some won, some didn't. So we were just watching this whole panorama play out. And then when our turn came, it was this... truly surreal is the word for it, because the sound in the hall was extraordinary. People erupted in claps and joy when our name came up, which was wonderful. It's a great testament to the fact that we had a lot of people supporting the album, because most of the hall were Grammy voters and others. So people just shouted, and then we just jumped up and down in joy to go up to the stage.
Now, very interestingly, you said as a part of your acceptance speech, you said that music spreads joy and laughter even in our darkest days. So can you recall a particular moment in your life when music truly lifted your spirit during a challenging time, perhaps?
Music has been so critical to my life, and it's not just in challenging times. It really, when I was very young, Arjun, I would have many chores and many jobs, and I can't remember a single job I did, but I can tell you what song I was singing at that time. Music's always been connected to experiences, and the happiest moments of my life have always been to do with music, which is the reason about 23 years ago I decided to really build music in much more intentionally into my life, because to make me complete, music was critical to that. Because until then, I was so much in the business world, and music was peripheral, and I wanted to make it much more center stage. So there were many instances, happy, sad. I celebrated joys, I celebrated boyfriends, I celebrated the breakups, I celebrated sad moments and happy moments with music, with a song. Whether it's Roberta Flack's Killing Me Softly or M.S. Subbulakshmi's Suprapadam or the Rudram to take me through difficult periods, I still use all the mantras and the chants to heal me.
Well, winning a Grammy at 70 is truly inspiring. What's next for you, Chandrika? Do you have plans for another Grammy or a new big venture on the horizon? And what's your message to young Indians who might feel overwhelmed by the sheer pressures of success?
Grammy is something that the voters and the voting public of the Grammys decide. I think you plan to do what is your passion. You plan to put out wonderful music that changes your heart and hopefully will affect others in a positive way. So I have two projects underway now. One is one I'd been working on before this Grammy, and it's a project called Soul Ecstasy, which is mantras, Hare Rama Hare Krishna, which I have composed in collaboration with Tejen Narayan Majumdar, and that will be coming out fairly shortly. It's called Soul Ecstasy, and it's the chant in multiple ragas, and I've already finished most of the work on it. And the second piece that I'm also working on is I'm an artist in residence for the coming year with the Young People's Chorus of New York. And the Young People's Chorus of New York is one of the largest choruses in New York, in the world, actually. And they're award-winning. They've won multiple prizes. And this is an American New York City chorus of several thousand children from young to high school. And I'm taking a lot of Sanskrit mantras and Sanskrit songs and converting them into choral harmonies that big groups can sing.
From a top business person to now a Grammy winner, looking back, Chandrika, what do you think has been that driving force behind your resilience and your ability to blend two such different worlds together, being music and business?
two things I'll say, Arjun, and these are very important to me. And as I go back into the early stages of my life, and perhaps even now to some degree, I use a term, unbounded. I think the way I think about, if I look back, and again, hindsight is 2020, you get a lot more insights looking back on yourself. But in a sense, I didn't see boundaries. I have no business even being here because, I came from such a small uh, environment in Chennai with a very traditional background. But yet, I was able to break these boundaries. But it's because I didn't see limits. And I don't think we have limits. Our mind is a very big limiter. So we have to think a lot about our mind, and we have to really think a lot about how we are our own worst enemy, and we don't reach our full potential. So that's kind of one theme that I want. This unbounded theme is something I'd like all young people to think about and understand. And I'd say a corollary to that is music for me, and this is the whole journey in the last 20 some years. Music for me was a way to find myself because music led me to meditation, and the meditation led me to a life of service, which I really spend most of my time doing now. Even my business life is that of service. And I think what happens is with Indian music, especially, you cannot find your sur, you cannot find your sa unless your mind is quiet. And that's the lesson I learned, and that sort of made me understand the craziness that goes on in all our minds, and then you understand that you need to quiet your mind. So I'd say that has been a huge part of my life now. I don't know whether you call it success, but it's certainly made for a much more intentional, happy life, and I punctuate everything I write and speak with saying love, light, laughter. And I try to be in that space as much of the day and year and week as I can. And I want everybody to be in that space. And I think that's what we're here for. We've got one life to live. What's the point in being miserable?
Well, indeed. Chandrika, how do you see the intersection of Indian heritage and global music trends? And what do you hope the world learns about India through your music?
The ancient traditional chants, especially the Vedic chants, have extraordinary resonance. The sounds have extraordinary healing abilities. We don't completely understand it yet because a lot of those traditional chants were the purview of the gurus and the sages and the rishis. And now some of those are coming out into more of the center stage in a sense. And I think what my path to some degree is to take some of these amazing chants which have extraordinary meaning and make them accessible to the world. And we've got a world now which is thinking a lot about anxiety, which is thinking a lot about mental well-being. And here is one extraordinary technique based on one of the most ancient cultures and one of the most glorious cultures which we can share with the world. So that is what I think the journey is for me. I'm not interested in showing off my musical virtuosity. This is not what it's about. It really is about simplifying it. It's really about making it accessible. It is that people can hear the mantras, can hear the resonance and feel it inside and feel the transcendence that these mantras have certainly offered to me and have offered to so many. There's a reason we were nominated, and there's a reason why I have a lot of people who love the music that I put out because it's all about that.
I know you're on a tight schedule. Thank you so much for giving us so much time. A last question to you, Chandrika. India has such a rich history, in fact, of music and spirituality, but it's often not only overlooked in the global music narratives, but domestically as well. How do you think India can continue to shine on the global stage, particularly in genres like, New Age, where its influence is already being felt by artists like you?
I think music is an extraordinary natural resource. And I said this yesterday, music is love. And music, in our darkest days brings us joy and laughter. And music ignites the light within. You really can't be truly depressed if you have music within you. And a lot of people may not be active musicians, but listening to music and listening to our traditions and our mantras and the words, they have more depth to them than we understand. And as I have started in the last 25 years getting much more into the whole area of Sanskrit and our own tradition, and studying it and learning it and understanding the words and using it in my music, my life has changed so much for the better. And I think we have a gift. If you are Indian, and you have access to it, you have a biological lottery, for goodness sake, and let's use that, and let's all access it, and let's use it for not just our own good, but for helping everybody else we can.
Well, thank you so much, Chandrika, for taking out the time. Congratulations once again on this amazing feat. And in your own words, thank you for the music.